I want to talk to you guys. Like I said, I'm gonna dub this segment Hidden Gem. Because you guys ever come across those movies and you're like, how did I not know this existed? Now, it's one thing to come across a lot of films you didn't know existed and they're just total dog shit because we live in the era of shovelware where it's just like there's so much just crap content clogging up all the streamers where it's ridiculous. But man, it's super rare these days because sometimes it feels like I've seen everything to come across a movie that it was kind of a mid-budget studio flick of maybe the 80s or the early 90s or something, and it's the kind of movie I would have watched late at night on Cinemax back in the day. Maybe it didn't really get its due in theaters, but you watch it and I'm like, but this is, it's got big actors, it's got a budget, the story is fun, and usually a lot of these, like the last movie I saw was this movie called White Sands with Willem Dafoe and Mickey Rourke. And I'm like, I remember when I came across this last year, I'm like, where is this movie been? And almost always the case is it's a movie that opened up against like some heavy competition, right? Like maybe it opened up against Batman and Ghostbusters 2 and just got swamped, right? And then maybe it just kind of lived on Cinemax here and there. So those movies are kind of rare, but I found one. Todd actually showed me last night, and I was like, I'm going to watch this tonight, man.
Never seen it. I just saw the trailer.
It's this movie called The Ambulance starring our boy, Eric Roberts, and he is rocking the greatest mullet in cinematic history. It is insane. It had to have been filmed around Best of the Best because, man, I'm guessing because he's rocking the hair, but there's no ponytail here. It gives Van Damme a run for the money, right? His money in Hard Target. It's epic. And this was actually, I didn't know anything about this movie. I went into it blind. And as I was watching it, it's a Larry Cohen film. He did The Stuff. So I'm like, well, I had no idea this existed. But the film is really good. And it's kind of a crazy plot. It does kind of seem like a Larry Cohen film. It's very pulpy. It feels like it could have been like a Tales from the Crypt or something.
Was it comedy or what?
No, well, it's Eric Roberts, so it's got some like humor in it. But no, it's a thriller. So I don't want to give any spoilers because I want you to watch it, but I'll kind of give you the synopsis, try and stay spoiler free. But Eric Roberts, the movie starts off with Eric Roberts just on the streets of New York City, and he's walking with a buddy, and he's trying to pick up on some chick. Like, oh, it's that babe I saw yesterday. Oh, she's a beautiful brown eye. And he's like trying to hit on her, and he's like basically he's basically acting how you wouldn't accept today. It'd be like considered harassment today.
Cat calling.
Yeah, but he's like being like 80s charming, where he's like not Eric Roberts does not take no for an answer. You tell him you're not interested, he's going to keep following you. And he's but anyway, it doesn't take long to pick up. That's why I say it's kind of like a Tales from the Crypt or something, where it's a very simple kind of pulpy type of story. But suddenly this woman, she starts passing out. And get an ambulance, and then an ambulance shows up, and it's like a very old-timey ambulance. It looks like Ecto-1 from Ghostbusters, and it takes her off to the hospital. Okay, and he's trying to get her information because he's in love. Like, I'll meet you at the hospital. I'll do all this stuff. Like, what's your name? And as they're closing the door, he gets her first name, but he doesn't get her last name. So he goes looking for to the only two hospitals I think that she could have been taken to, and they have no record of her. And he's got the first name, he doesn't have the last name. So he can't find her. And then he starts looking for Jane Does. And there's little to no Jane Does that have been reported that day. So we have a mystery on our hands. And what it basically has turned into, you basically call this movie Invasion of the Diabetic Snatchers. So there's this like weird underground group of people, this doctor that is kidnapping diabetics because he's running some black market scheme where he's experimenting on these drugs that are supposed to be cures for diabetes, involving like organ transplant. It's all black market shit. So he's taking these people, abducting them he's got a few goons working for him, and all they've done is purchased like an old out of date ambulance, and they're pretending to be hospital workers and taking people off, and they're doing their research on people and all that stuff. And so they're running these like fucking tests, these Mangala tests on people, as sacrificial lambs to get this product to their buyers. And this woman is one of those people. And over the course of the film, there's more victims. And Eric Roberts, of course, he's got to find this chick. He's like, I'm gonna find her and rescue her. So he starts investigating. He gets the cops involved. He gets this one detective involved who's played by James Earl Jones. So you have that dynamic. And of course, they're like, stay away from this. And by the way, Eric Roberts works as an illustrator for Marvel Comics.
Oh, really?
1980s Marvel Comics. So he's like in a warehouse, like it's really cool warehouse office, and they got like Captain America on the walls, like from the 80s, and he's drawing, and that's kind of part of his shtick. Like he's drawing a picture of her, like this is what she looks like. And his boss named Stanley is played by Stan Lee.
Oh, Jesus, really?
Stan Lee. But this is before the big Marvel fucking. This is the 80s, man. This is when Marvel was broke. Marvel was broke in the fucking 80s, and no one gave a shit about it. This is when they were like licensing their shit out to fucking Corman and shit to make in the Spider-Man TV show where he's shooting silly string. So this is like the good Marvel stuff, right? So I think it's actually really neat because it's like, how often do you have like you don't buy it? It's like Eric Roberts, you draw comic books. That's what you do. Okay. And Stan Lee, it's not just like a Marvel movie cameo. He's got a role. He's got a supporting role. He's got probably 3 scenes with Eric Roberts as his boss. It's very wild. And
how was he?
Huh?
How
was
he?
Not bad. Huh. Totally did the job. Fine. And it's 80s Stan Lee, so he's not like all white haired. He's still got some brown in his hair and stuff. He kind of looks like a porno director, like a sleazy 70s porno director. Anyway, so it's one of these types of things where he is kind of uncovering a conspiracy, kind of getting in over his head. He's trying to solve it himself. We've all seen movies like that, and they're like, of course, hunting for him. There's definitely a social commentary in there about like healthcare and all that stuff. But it's really fun, man. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
And I looked at the rant, and James Earl Jones is funny in it. It's got a humor to it too. It kind of, it's kind of got this kind of Carpenter-esque vibe to it, like a They Live or whatever, right? Where it's not taking itself too seriously. And Eric Roberts, there's a couple of moments where I was kind of laughing out loud because he's so hammy. He's a great actor in this. He's really just steals every scene he's in. He's in every scene. But then there's like, not to spoil much, but let's just say there's a scene where he's been captive and they got him strapped to a gurney in the back of the ambulance, and he gets himself loose and the doors open and he flies out of the car. And he's strapped to a gurney and he's flying down the street. So there's some wacky shit in this movie.
That'd be funny.
It's really good. And there's another wacky scene that involves him in a street gang that's very much getting his ass kicked. That is really, really, really funny. So it's wild. And James Earl Jones is funny. His like detective character is kind of dark and funny. And yeah, it's a little bit what's the word? Right. It's a little bit surreal in the way people act. Like when he goes to the even like the normal hospital, not like the crooked people. Yeah, they act a little like, wow, that orderly is kind of an asshole. like they're a little jerk. Like they would never be this big of an asshole in real life. Some of the stuff these people say are a little bit like heightened. So it's a lot of fun, man. And when I saw the other reviews for this film, I was blown away. I'm like, yeah, I watched it. I'm like, I really like this. It's so forgotten though. I have no idea what people are going to say about it. If you go on Letterboxd, this thing is predominantly 6 through 8s. I'm like, wow, which is a good. And like, there's nothing below 6 through 8s. So I would own this movie, and it's released by Shout.
Yeah, Scream Factory, I think, put it out.
I don't even know. Is it even available anymore? It's probably been like an old release. I'll have to go and see it, but I will own this movie. I feel like I have to own it because it was a fun time. So yeah, that's right, Gamer Guy. Larry Cohen, like I said, and he also did the stuff, like I said, and yeah, Cue the Winged Serpent. But yeah, it's kind of got his touch all over it, and it was cool, dude. I approve. What are you looking at?
Was the Wasn't there a Michael Bay film that came out?
Yeah, with Jake
Is
Gyllenhaal.
that a remake of this?
No, it hasn't. It's a generic title, Todd. They're not going to remake a Forgotten Larry Cohen film from the 80s that we don't even know. Yeah, it's a totally different flick. And but I've never seen the Michael Bay one, but I can already tell you without a shadow of a doubt, this is the superior ambulance. But it's just a fun movie, man. I really, 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 yeah, put it on the watch list. The only place we could watch it, it's on Pluto.
Yeah, Pluto.
Like you can't. Pluto has so many damn ads. Like I'm like, honestly, I will rent it because this is the kind of movie that's like $2.99. Like I will pay $3 because the movie's an hour and a half. It's 90. It's perfect, right? The time, the length, it's snippy. It's not long. But if you watch it on Pluto, it's like at least they add 30 minutes of ads. So, but it's not available for rent anywhere.
It's like $20 or something to buy.
So. Where? Oh, physical?
Yeah, physical.
Yeah, digitally you can't rent it. It was nowhere. So the only place to watch it currently, it's not on Vudu, it's not on Amazon. You have to watch it on Pluto. But Pluto. But I would totally recommend it. Will, check it out. Let us know what you think of it. But I'm probably gonna buy it, man, for sure. Because I thought I get really obsessed when I find these types of hidden gem movies. Like, where has this been my whole life? Because I kind of like these movies that probably cost $10 to $15 million, maybe $20 million. They're just this sweet spot where they can tell a really good story. And this is back in the days when, Eric Roberts could carry the film. I mean, now I wish he still would, but people aren't going to marquee Eric Roberts anymore. But he is fantastic. Electric.
2 weeks in a row, we brought up Eric Roberts.
I'm going to keep bringing him up, dude. Eric Roberts is my new Mortal Kombat. Eric Roberts is my new TMNT. I'm going to make sure. You know what would have made TMNT 90 better? Eric Roberts is the Shredder. Eric Roberts is Casey Jones. Why not? Right? Put him in everything.
Yeah. He should have been in Karate Kid Part 3.
Oh, as Silver?
Yeah, Silver.
Because he stole the ponytail. Straight up just ripped that ponytail off of him.
Yeah.
And guys, if you were wondering, best of the best commentaries are coming eventually.
Oh man,
you brace yourself.
Did those ever come out of physical media?
Those are hard to buy even digitally.
Yeah,
they're just lost to time. But you'll have to do a little digging. But they're probably on archive.org. Man, wait till you guys see Eric Roberts with that ponytail and his cheesy Cosby sweater in his kid's bedroom, like sad and shedding a tear when he's got to leave his kid for the big tournament. So it's amazing, really, when you think about it.
I watched those not too long. I'm gonna say like 4 or 5 years ago. I love them, man. They're great.